Hello gorgeous, I'm back today and today we're talking about how to marry a provider, why men should pay. And in part 1 and part 2, we've already been going really deep into the sort of like the energetic metaphysical reasons of why men should pay and not so much like the physical reasons. So if you haven't seen those two videos, I would highly recommend that you start there first, because I feel like if you just watch this video, it might seem a little bit out of context. So I will post part 1 and part 2 in the description box for you, and I'll also pin it to the first comment. So I asked you in part 2, what would you like me to cover in part 3? And a lot of you guys said that you wanted me to talk about what does the feminine bring to the table? And that's a really good question. I have talked about this before, but I think I took down that video and made it a bonus in one of my courses. So let's just get into it all over again and take it from the beginning. So first and foremost, notice that I am not saying male or female or men or women. Let's go back to masculine and feminine, because this will be really useful for you, because you will notice that even in same-sex relationships, there is one partner that is functioning in the masculine most of the time and one partner that is functioning in the feminine most of the time. I've had many friends who are in same-sex relationships, and for some reason I always end up with the friend that's more in the feminine for some whatever reason. But if you can clearly see this in action in the relationship, and this will help you because you'll realize that in same-sex relationships, they're not taking gender for granted, and so it's easier sometimes to see these dynamics in play in those relationships. So here's how I want you to start thinking about it. What the masculine brings to the table is more physical. It's more concrete. So think of the physical plane, okay? So it's going to be more action-based, and unfortunately, this is one of the kind of the negatives, is because it's more concrete, it's more physical, it's more material, it's very easy to see it. It's very easy to be like, okay, well, he does this, this, and this for me. This is what he brings to the table. And this is really a shame, because the feminine brings just as much, if not more, to the table. But with the feminine, it's the metaphysical plane, it's the energetic plane, it's the emotional plane. And because of that, it is not so tangible. It's the intangible, it's the more mysterious. So people in the Eastern culture, both men and women, really understand what the feminine brings, and they understand that it's a lot more potent than the physical aspects. Like the physical is like the least you can do for what the feminine is bringing. But here in the Western world, we have sort of forgotten this, because our culture does really honor success and capitalism and more like hustling and doing more. And so because of that, the masculine part is like obvious, and the feminine is becoming this like lost art. So whenever you're talking about what does the woman bring to the table, now one thing I've seen kind of floating around on Instagram and other places is the woman doesn't bring anything to the table, or I bring nothing to the table. Please don't say that. That is such a dishonoring of the feminine. You absolutely bring a lot to the table. I also don't like I am the table or I bring my appetite. A lot of this stuff, I know it sounds cool and like the modern thing to say, but it actually really devalues you, and it puts the masculine in their program, in their ego, and saying, hey, well, why am I doing all of this physical stuff that's really tangible and she's bringing nothing to the table? Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't say it. You do bring something really powerful. It is just unseen. It's more felt. Okay, so let's use this as an example. So you guys know that I studied, one of the things that I studied at Northwestern, my university degree, was communications. And in communications, it is said that only 7% of all communication is verbal. So that means 93% is non-verbal. It's the metaphysical, right? So in this example, the masculine would be the 7%. The masculine would be 7% and 93% would be the feminine. So the words that are coming out of my mouth are the masculine in this example, and the feminine is the 93%, my tone, my energy, my vibration, and how that vibration lands and interacts with your vibration. So all of that is the 93%. So would the metaphysical communication part say I bring nothing to the table because you can't really hear me as words? Well, no, it's very much felt and it's very important. So I want this I bring nothing to the table thing like gone, because it's such a dishonoring of the feminine. Okay, so I'm gonna say it a couple different ways so that it really lands of what the feminine brings. So when you're thinking about the masculine, think about the physical plane, okay? Carrying heavy things, opening doors, putting their family's needs before their own is the masculine, right? Like our ancestors were the ones that like got up and like went hunting, even if it meant that they could risk their lives. The cavemen that said, well, I just don't feel like going hunting today. Their children, if they had any, died. So we are not their descendants, right? We are the descendants of the men that woke up, put their feelings aside, weren't all up in their feelings, and they said, you know what? I have to go and do this for my family. So it's a very doing energy. It's a very action energy. Waking up, going to work, paying the bills, making sure that you are safe emotionally, making sure that you're physically safe, making sure that the finances are in order. Like my husband does a million things. Like if I listed them, we'd be here like for a week just talking about, right now he's going through this massive like cleaning out of he's also a Virgo, so he's like very intense when it comes to organizing, but he's going through like all of the accounts that we've ever created online and like consolidating all of that stuff. Like this is literally hours and hours of work, right? That is the masculine, the doing, the making sure that we are all taken care of. The feminine is the keeper of the metaphysical plane. And unfortunately, it's not something that like I can physically tell you that I do. And I've asked my husband these questions way back because I wanted to really understand how he was viewing me and perceiving me and what I was bringing to the table, right? And so one of the things he said, I don't know what it is, but I just want to be with you all the time. And I said, why? Why do you think that is? And he said, I don't know. I just feel better when I'm in your presence. That's it, right? So if you really think about it, the masculine is more dense in all the ways because physical plane is more dense, right? Metaphysical is more energy. So the male nervous system is more dense. And actually, if you even look at same-sex people in same-sex relationships, whoever is in the more masculine most of the time, you will start seeing a density to their body, to their posture, to the way they stand, to the way they speak. You can obviously tell who is more in the masculine because whatever pose you hold most of the time becomes you. It becomes a part of your vibration. So the masculine is more dense and their actions are very much quantifiable, right? Like he does this for me, he does this is the feminine is more energy. So if you really listen to what my husband was saying, it's how I make him feel, right? So you make men, or I should say the masculine, feel a certain way when you are in your feminine. In relationships, think of yourself as the keeper of energy and them as the keeper of the physical plane. Okay. Another way of thinking about it is that one thing I've said in the past is that he brings the money, you bring the honey. You sweeten the deal. So when the masculine wakes up, goes to work, does all the things that they do at work, slays dragons and all the things, and they come home to you, You are the home. You are the soft landing. You're the one that makes it all worthwhile. Your softness, your warmth, your presence, your energy, your vibration, the frequency that you emit, you make it all better. Now, does that mean that you have to say something? Well, with the 93%, you're already saying it with your vibration. It's not necessarily with your words. In fact, a woman that's very much in her masculine can say thank you, and it's still going to feel very empty to the masculine, because it's more what you're saying with the 93% that registers more with them than the 7% of the verbiage. That's why I don't like getting too stuck on how to phrase things, how to script things. Yes, there is a place and time for that. Maybe it's useful, but don't forget the 93% first of what is your energy saying, okay? So let me see, what else do I have in here? So the masculine is the keeper of the physical domain, and the feminine is the keeper of the masculine is the keeper of the physical domain, and the feminine is the keeper of the energetic domain, okay? So the less dense you are, the more you are keeper of the energy. Think of this. Think of the person in your life. This could be someone you met once or someone you've known intimately that you believe is just really, really good energy. Like they're just really light in their being, and you feel very good in their presence. Think of that person right now. Okay, hold them kind of in your mind's eye. And as you're looking at them in your mind's eye, ask yourself, what is it about them that feels so good and nourishing to your soul? And if you're really being honest with yourself, it's probably not the way that they dress or what they say. If you really tune in, it's something in their vibration. It's the way that they make you feel. Now, right now, you are looking at them. And now I want you to switch positions and look as them. So you are them, you're in them, you're looking as them, and look at yourself. How do they see the world? What is their energy embodiment right now? How do they hold themselves? How do they be? That's the feminine, okay? This is gonna help you sort of see it from a different angle. The other thing I wanna say is that in order to become less dense, this is where inner work comes in. This is not something you can pretend to be, right? That's what I call performative femininity. Like, I have seen very, very masculine individuals wearing a dress, and it literally looks like putting a dress on a football player. Like, that's what it felt like to me. I've seen these people walking around, and it's not a performance. It's not about wearing makeup or a dress or having your hair a certain way. It's very much a vibration that you emit, okay? When you're in your feminine, you emit a very light energy. When you're in your masculine, there's a density to your energy, okay? It's a very different. And what I've found helped me, I used to be very much in my masculine in my 20s, and being born and raised in America, having sexual abuse in my past, like a lot of reasons, right? I was very much in my masculine. And it was after I started my inner work journey that I started shedding those layers of density. I had to get rid of limiting beliefs, distortions, that I had kind of inherited some of them I've learned from culture, some of them I learned from my schooling and my friends and family members. I had to shed a lot of this heaviness that I was carrying in my energy. And the more that I shed that through my inner work, the lighter and lighter and lighter I've become, and the more energetic I've become, and the more energy fluid and energy fluent I've become. So I can go into my masculine, get a couple of tasks done that need to be done from the masculine, and then sway back into the feminine and be interacting with people. And I can do this within minutes because of the practice that it has taken. So I really highly recommend that don't just pretend to be feminine, actually do your inner work and get rid of the baggage and the conditioning and the distortions that actually weigh you down and make you really, really heavy, and that's like taking away from your essence. So it's like if you didn't have all of these limiting beliefs and all of these things on top of you, your core essence, if you resonate with my work, is feminine. Like you are the feminine, right? But because you have all of this stuff on top of it, you're bogged down, you're heavy, and your energy can become very, very dense. You know, for those of you guys that have been following me for a really long time, even in the last 12 years that you've seen me creating content on my channel, you've seen the lightening of my energy every year, getting more feminine, less masculine, getting less dense, more energy, and you're seeing how I'm able to even manifest on bigger and bigger levels and scales as I'm becoming more energy, right? Because when you're more energy, you're less tied to an identity or a personality that weighs you down and makes it harder for you to be able to manifest. So let me think for a second if there's something else I wanted to say on this topic. I do want to mention that we have 2 more days to sign up for the Divine Union course. I'm currently enrolling class of 2023 for the Divine Union. And for this year's bonus, I'm doing a 3-hour live Q&A. That's why it's a good time to purchase it right now, because then you can binge the content, go through it, do the exercises, and then if you do have questions, you will have time to bring them to the live Q&A. I have not announced the live Q&A yet. I will do that after my Hawaii intensive. That information will be sent to students. If you are new to my work and not sure where to start, I highly advise starting with the Basic Babe bundle. This bundle has everything that you need to start your inner work. It has manifestation work. It has feminine and masculine energy work. It has that emotional connection work, that how to get that gut level emotional response. Oh my God, that's the thing I wanted to say. Okay, I'm so glad I was talking about that. That's what I wanted to add to this training. So the masculine falls in love through emotions. The feminine falls in love through logic and rational thinking. I know. A lot of people are like, what? I thought women are more, emotional and men are. Yes, but look, the Divine Union is all about reciprocal relationships. And God was not playing when we were made, and we do fit together like this beautiful puzzle, like a puzzle piece, right? So when a man sees you, he's not thinking logically and going, well, she has a college degree and she is 26 years old and she's got da-da-da-da-da going for her, therefore I must fall in love with her. Like, that's not how they process attraction, chemistry, love. That's just not how it works. It's a combination of physical, like I would say, like the physical attraction gets you in through the door. It gets the head turning, and there's a very evolutionary kind of things that are considered physically attractive to men. It's millions of years of evolution. It's in the subconscious. It goes beyond the conscious. So there's a little bit of that gets you in the door. But beyond that, if that's like 10%, then 90% is the energy. So the attraction towards the energy, how you make him feel. That's what I mean when I say gut level emotional response. It's a subconscious gut level emotional response towards you. It does not take them a year to figure that out. It does not take them 6 months. It is in the blink of an eye. It's like, that's how easy it is. It's literally how easy it is. That's why in my work, when women are doing this inner work, feminine, masculine energy work, embodiment work, they do receive those proposals so quickly because men already know right away whether you are the one or not. They just string you along because you let them string you along, and every man is wired to conserve energy. So if you're gonna hang out with them for 2 years and 3 years and there's no reason to make a decision quickly, why would they? So you invoke a gut level emotional response. My husband proposed in 2 weeks. He said he knew sooner than that. Like, they just know either you are the one or not because of that gut level emotional response. Now, if a woman fails to give the gut level emotional response, but she has all of the other logical stuff, right? So maybe his friends are like, well, she's beautiful and look how smart she is, and she's so funny. He'll string you along, right? Because you look good on paper, but there's no urgency in him to be like, oh my God, she's the one, because you don't know how to get that gut level emotional response. So in all of my relationship courses, it's all about learning how to get that gut level emotional response. In fact, the 90-day relationship rehab, like the entire course is about that. Like every single exercise in there, everything coming out of my mouth is to train you how to do that. And this is valid even after 30, 40, 50 years of marriage. So my husband and I have been married for 14 and a half years, and every time we go anywhere, which we have like 2 or 3 dates a week, and every time we go, people think either we just met, we're dating, we're just engaged, or newlyweds, because I know how to get and keep the gut level emotional response. Now, are there times where I lose it? Yes, I'm ashamed to say that there are times where I am too much in my masculine. Maybe I skipped a couple of my self-care activities. I get into that like kind of projector critical vibe, and I'll immediately know it because I'll say certain things, my energy will be off, and immediately we're having a very like physical plane communication. Like my metaphysical is gone. And so it becomes like this, like, it just feels like alpha on alpha energy, and that does not feel good. Like think of 2 alpha dogs kind of like growling at each other. I mean, we don't growl at each other, but the energy feels very dense. And so what do? I immediately drop into my body, get my energy as light as I can at that time. Now, longer term, I might have to go take a bath, journal, dance, and like go into what happened here. Like, why am I so dense today? Like, what's going on? What do I need to release? What do I need to let go off my plate? What do I need to play? Right? So going back into that solves the problem 100% of the time. So you literally are the keeper of energy. And so this is what also I want to add is when I do this kind of content and new people come into my world, I always have that one person in the comments, maybe sometimes 2, going, why are you blaming women? Okay, I had that in yesterday's video when I talked about meeting that guy on the first class flight. He was talking about how he's dating these women online, he's talking to women online, and then the third time they're talking, they're like begging for money. And she was like, well, why are you blaming women? Maybe he was just a creep. First of all, especially if a man is a creep, do not ask them for money. Okay, like, no, it's inappropriate. It's inappropriate in any situation to be randomly asking anyone for money, but especially if he's a creep. But here's what I want to say about this. If you are still in the lower tier consciousness of blame, unfortunately, my content is not going to be for you. The reason for this is I have 4 different stages of consciousness that I talk about: basic babe, self-aware Barbie, Million Dollar Babe and High End Divinity, I don't work with basic babes because that is the domain of therapy. I am a life coach. So I work with self-aware Barbies and above. So if you see my content and you still have that mindset of like whose fault it is, who's to blame, she did it, he's staring at me, make him stop, it's his fault. Like if you're still in that domain, that is basic babe. You need therapy before you can even work up to that level of being able to have these conversations. And nothing wrong with that. We all start somewhere, but I'm not going to be your person at this time, or maybe ever, because you have to first start with literally going to therapy and working through some of those blame, shame, those kind of emotions first, and then work your way up to life coaching. So this is more advanced level work, and that's okay. We all don't have to be for everyone, right? So I hope you enjoyed this. The Divine Union card closes in 2 days, linked in the description box. If you are looking for human design readings, I've got my son's email in the description box and I'll pin it to the chat. If you are not sure where to begin your inner work, the Basic Babe bundle is gold. Trust me, it's got everything. It's got inner child work, shadow work, like feminine energy work, masculine energy work, law of attraction work. It's got 17, I think 18 now, meditations that you can try and see. It's got a forgiveness meditation, manifestation, like everything. Literally, when I say everything, it's got everything that you need. I love you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.